We now travel to the mid-north coast town of Kempsey. Here we catch up with photographer and good friend of ours, Leo Meyer, at his mountain retreat. We also hope to pick up a few tips for taking that perfect holiday snap.
How did you start into photography, Leo?
Photography's been in my life as far back as I can remember. At school, I had a great interest in photography, but it was just a hobby. And when I came to Australia, I went out into this amazing world that I never knew before, the wild places, by myself. I had this great urge to show people where I'd been, and I started to take the cameras and had slideshows, and I got such a great response, you know, from sharing that. I did that more and more, but it was still just a hobby. I never had any inclination to become a photographer. And then I went to an energy fair somewhere, and they said, "Save the Kola Wilderness," and oh, that's where I go all the time. What's happening? And when I found out more, I joined the group and used my photography to lobby how precious and beautiful this area was. And then, you know, my photographs were used, I got exposed and more, and slowly it turned into a profession. So I never intended to be a photographer. I'm an accidental photographer.
What sort of work have you done over the years?
It's out of my love for nature, my nature photography, books. I started off doing books in Australia about like Rainforest of Australia, wilderness heritage type of things, and then grew to 30 books on Australia, over 30 books, and international books that I really enjoyed, travelling the world, another 30 books and magazines around the world. And my first love, nature photography, but anything, aerial photography, cookbooks, whatever.
What would you say has been your biggest achievement?
I think as a photographer, when the pictures were used to lobby and get support from people to think about how precious our natural world is, some of the national parks that have been created and the part I played in it, I feel that makes me most proud.
You've obviously photographed a lot of Australia. Where would you say are some of your favourite places?
I think the most precious places for me are pristine wilderness areas that haven't been altered by man, places where things are still the dynamics of, like the last storm knocked into shape or the last flood left things littered around, where I feel just the dynamics of nature. And I love it. I love getting up when it's really dark, still dark, walk out there and wait what dawn brings.
I've never been in any pristine wilderness places. What sort of things do you find there to photograph?
Well, sometimes it's the grand open scene, but very often it's tiny little things. And I don't go and plan things. I just stand there and stroll along, and sometimes it's just a tiny little thing. It's just the randomness that of nature, that where we haven't, like a garden, it can be really lovely, but it hasn't got the same strength that nature has when it just follows its own rhythm.
So like the bugs or the leaves? What?
Everything. I love macro photography. It's like another world, macro, to put a macro lens on and see 1,000 little legs crawling along, and the textures in a leaf, the things you don't normally see, that I can't see with my eyes. Through a lens I can discover something new, and conversely a telelens, I love the whole gamut of what's before us.
Some people are thinking of buying a new camera before they go away. What sort of things should they consider in buying a camera?
Probably the first thing to consider is what you want to do with the camera. If it's a camera to create memories for the family, primarily, I think I'd go for a certain type of camera. But if you have a very strong interest in being a photographer, and don't mind a bit extra weight and complications, then I would go for a different kind of camera. A family camera, I think, should be really small, so it's there at all the time. A live preview is great, you can see what you're doing, and you get instant feedback, and it's simple to use. It can be passed on to other family members. If you want to be a photographer, I think you need more a camera that can change lenses, and you can expand your abilities as you learn more. Probably an SLR camera, a single lens reflex camera, that has controls that you can become really professional in the end. There's lots of cameras that have everything automatic to start with, but you can unlock the potential of the camera as you grow.
Finally, what sort of advice would you give someone on how to take that perfect picture?
I think first, get up early, be there, that's the most important thing. But also be there before the picture you want to take. Be there, I love being there when it's still dark, and become affected by the place, by the surrounds, and just become still. I love a tripod sometimes, just it forces me to stand on the spot. and I think racing after pictures, I often see lots, I never get one. When I start to stand still, the picture comes to me.
Thanks, Leo, for your time today, and thank you for your tips. I look forward to seeing your photos in the future.
You're welcome.